see, another thing that really annoys me about certain royal stories is the fact that obviously they can be perpetuated in any single way that they like, the sort of thing. We've seen it so many times, haven't we? Now, as many people know, I've been lucky enough to meet people who were around our brilliant monarch, the late Queen Elizabeth II, towards the end of her life, including the former British Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Liz Truss, who of course was the very final Prime Minister to meet with the monarch after 70 years and so many Prime Ministers. As she said to me, it was an absolute thrill and honour, but she realised the historical value attached. I mean, it is that sort of thing. Now, if you remember, of course, Liz Truss was really there by fluke, simply because of a coup to oust the then sitting Prime Minister, which was also the Right Honourable Boris Johnson. Now, as you know, Boris has literally been back recently with his book, yes, Unleashed, in which he revealed all about the fact that he'd been asked by our late monarch to have a private word with Prince Harry and, of course, his wife Meghan Markle to see if he could talk some sense into them, averting their Megxit move, firstly to Canada and then, as we now see, over to California. But as Boris basically said, he kind of made a bit of a hash of it, but at least he did give it a go and reported back to the late monarch. Now, this particular bombshell all comes from a forthcoming new book by the Sunday Times journalist Tim Shipman. And what's interesting about this particular story is the fact that now some might suggest there's a little economical with the truth. Let me explain. Hi, good to see you. Thank you so much as ever for your time today. Lovely to have your company on this. It's not as late as you think. This is what I find incredible about winter. It looks really misty and dark, doesn't it? This is, of course, the beautiful area of Calderdale in West Yorkshire. Yes, could almost be a setting for a Hammer movie. Well, what do you mean I look the part already? I know. Feel it at this point of the day, you know what I mean? But yes, it's not, it kind of looks like the middle of the night, and it's not, and this is the problem. You've got to get out there early and get your free vitamin D. Oh, absolutely. Other things that you need to get free are, in fact, of course, the truth. And that's very difficult in this mainstream media climate. You see, this particular gentleman, Tim Shipman, has a book out in which he now claims, of course, some rather startling revelations about our late Queen Elizabeth. Apparently, according to him, that the Queen was hoping to cling on so that, sadly, Boris Johnson wasn't left as the idiot to organise her funeral. Now, this is a startling claim and one that really holds no truth. This is simply because I know for a fact that she got on incredibly well with Boris. Found him a little bit, shall we say, lovable buffoon, and I mean that in the nicest way. Let's not forget, she dealt with many errant prime ministers during her long reign. So to say that, she was clinging on, I think is highly disrespectful. And given the fact, of course, that she knew exactly, even towards her very final days, the problems that were engulfing the government with leadership battles, the pandemic that we'd all just gone through, all of that sort of stuff. I was told that she got on very well with Boris and his wife, even sending a present over for the newly born Wilfred at the time. So consequently, it's very easy, isn't it, to put a book out there and say, this is what the Queen thought or felt. So many others have now revoked this and said it's ridiculous. She would never have let political views be heard, even at that late hour in her life. But of course, when you're selling a book, you have to do a lot of things, don't you? Now, I'll leave it up to you to decide whether you believe Mr. Shipman's account of exactly what the late Queen thought of the Right Honourable Boris Johnson. I'm sure there were certain things, but I'm sure she never revealed them, not to anyone. Neil Sean in the very heart of Yorkshire.